it's all based around information. So it's got to be the responsibility of your chief information officer, your chief digital officer. You can't walk away from the responsibility, and it's just part of the job. Is it the CIO's job alone these days? Well, yes, from a technical perspective, I think he's got to generate the standards. I think he's got to put the governance in place. He's got to be able to police what we do as an organisation. You've got to look at the grassroots technology, which I'm responsible for across the organisation. But cybersecurity is now reaching into places where it never reached before. I mean, it's about the type of people who want to generate some cyber activity. So HR have got a huge role to play in what sort of people we bring into the organisation and what sort of checks we put across them, given what they're going to be doing. Not everybody has to be security cleared, but if they're going to be in a delicate role where they're writing code or delivering services, you've got to make sure they're trustworthy. Otherwise, they could be introducing through a back door maybe the issue that you've spent potentially tens, maybe hundreds, maybe millions of pounds tightening down. So it does reach out to the HR world. We interact at Transport for London a lot with the wider marketplace. They build a lot for us. They create a lot for us. We reach out right around the world for some of our, across the train industry, for instance, which I think is quite well known. And so therefore commercial also have a role to play in understanding what is the potential that the contract, that the partnership, that the relationship with third parties could introduce inside the organisation. So I think at one time it was just techie. It was about malware, it was about spam, it was about things like the kill chain, about how organisations attack you and then respond to you to get underneath of you technically. But that's not the only open door. There are very many other windows and avenues into your organisation which, like I say, are based around commercial, and people go far beyond technology. There have been a number of drivers for Wi-Fi on the underground. I mean, the obvious one is providing the travelling public with a means to communicate when they're utilising our services, all part of the Every Journey Matters aura the presentation that Transport for London are going through. But of course it has many other uses. We use it internally for our operational people, what they call customer service agents, who work deep on the platforms. We're now able to shift or move or present real-time information from our control centres, like the London Underground Control Centre in central London. So it has many operational uses. We also, it's given us a reach out into places where we didn't have fixed cabling before. The underground is 150 years old, as I'm sure you've seen, and we sometimes struggle with our infrastructure, our technical infrastructure, and Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi capabilities meant we can now reach places that we've never really been able to reach before. Working with smaller SMEs, small, medium enterprises, is key to Transport for London. You know, we've got obligations around working with smaller organisations as well as bigger organisations, their cabin office guidance, and we obviously get some clear guidance from the Mayor's office as well, which makes perfect sense. And for me, it also allows me to make sure that my teams are considering every aspect of you know, using some of the larger, bigger organisation, the economy of scale question, answer it that way. But you know, you've got to make sure you have innovation. You've got to make sure you understand what you can do with the technology, but safely. And I think this comes back to some of the points I made earlier on about cyber, is understanding not what the company is going to give you from a technical perspective, but what type of people are they? What's the makeup of the organisation? Can we trust them? Doing those checks, and then once you've built that relationship, you can then start to interact in a way that you're not so concerned that they're going to deliver you some technology that's got a dodgy Trojan in it, or it's got some malware in it, because you've built a relationship. And it is maybe takes a little bit longer. It does take the time where you have to get to know the organisation. But if you don't, I think you're quite right in your statement. It starts to open the doors around increased risks. I mean, of course, when we bring things into the organisation, we would still put them through a level of testing. You know, we'll make sure they're built in a particular way. We have very, very sharp standards within the public sector, and particularly Transport for London. And the closer you get to the travelling public, and the closer you get to our control systems, the more stringent we become. So there is a place, we do utilise them, and I think it's healthy to see some of the smaller organisations coming through to help us drive our innovation. But you've just got to put some more checks and balances in place. You've just got to look at it and say, what do we need to do to maintain the integrity of our organisation?